On Sunday, during an event of the Akorino brothers in Nakuru, the deputy president arrived 1 hour after the president had sat down. And just next to that president was his seat, which was being warmed by the Minister for Water and Irrigation, my friend Zachary Njeru. And when he showed up, he started, castigating the weather. He started castigating his means of transportation and many other things, Honorable Speaker. Yesterday, to my dismay, the deputy president took a commercial flight to Mombasa and was hauling his own bag, getting into the aircraft, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this House appropriates and budgets for travels of the deputy president, Honorable Speaker. And at no given time have we ever envisaged a situation where he takes a commercial flight. But if he takes solace out of commercial flights, then it is incumbent upon this House to reduce his travels by 95%, because we know what is being charged by commercial flights and the rates that are being charged by chartered flights, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, whereas this government is barely 2 years in office, we have listened to quite disdainful statements emanating from the office of the Deputy President. And I want to ask you, Honorable Speaker, that the majority leader here present to shed more light over these issues, because they touch on us as the consumers of government services, Honorable Speaker. Whereas a lot has already been spoken about regarding sugar and the loans that were offset by the government, Honorable Speaker. Just yesterday, in a cabinet meeting, 6 billion shillings owed by coffee farmers was cancelled by the cabinet, Honorable Speaker. And there is no fury about it. But when the same government cancels debts owed by government-owned sugar mills, then it becomes a matter of concern by one particular Governor of Nyeri, Honorable Speaker, who has since abrogated himself the role of a spokesperson of somebody else, Honorable Speaker. I've always believed that governors are so busy.
Your point.
I've always believed, Honorable Speaker, that governors are too busy to even indulge in issues holding brief for others, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, these are fundamental, germane, and salient issues that, left unchecked, have the potential to create bigger problems for this country that we all love. So I implore upon my very good friend, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, the MP for Kikuyu, to shed more light on these matters. Otherwise, if there is a real problem that the Deputy President is suffering, that as a House we can help him solve, that this is the right platform. But if he's creating, disunity and playing victim at the same time, so that a particular section of the government would go a different way, then we want to know and call him to order. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the...
Yesterday was a bit embarrassing. This House passed last year's budget, 2023-2024. And they allocated funds to every arm of government. The executive got their vote, and in particular, the presidency got a budget to help them run their affairs. Every member of this House and even members of public know very well that each office is well equipped with a team of people, with a team that helps people that move around, the executive, members of the executive to move around, like His Excellency the Deputy President. It was a shame, Honorable Speaker, to see His Excellency the Deputy President moving around, carrying a bag, in as much as one wants to pull some PR stunts. And I say this, Honorable Speaker, with tremendous respect. We should question, it is about time we question the members of staff that work with His Excellency the Deputy President. Where were they when he was carrying the bag? Where were they when they were taking pictures and some of them, of course, standing behind him as he pulled the bag, which looked very empty, Honorable Speaker. And I think it must have been bought from the airport, Honorable Speaker. Because in as much as we appreciate the fact that...
Order, Honorable Soro. I think what Jared Okello asked was legitimate. But let's not digress into discussing the conduct of the person, of the Deputy President. Jared Okello asked whether, and I saw it in the reason I allowed him to ask that, seek that statement from the majority leader, is that the person of the Deputy President of this country is a responsibility of everybody. His movement to any part of the country has security implications. How he travels, who he travels with, where he goes, has security implications. So I saw it in the context that it is not a matter that is normal to see our Deputy President towing a bag on the air side to the aircraft, because you have appropriated resources to facilitate the work of the office of the presidency. That is how I understood Okello's concern. And Okello was seeking the majority leader to assure the country whether this is something subnormal or this is something that is near normal, or somebody is saying is the new normal, but in security terms, it is not normal. And that's what I expect the majority leader to tell this House. So anybody who seeks to speak to this can only confine yourself within that context. If you start discussing the personal conduct of the Deputy President, I will not allow you.
Has access to military aircraft. The Deputy President has a police aircraft designated for his use, which currently is under maintenance, and the Cabinet Secretary tells me in the next few weeks they will have finalized with its maintenance, because it is not just a police aircraft that is maintained by government, but whenever the Deputy President is flying that aircraft for his safety and security, bearing in mind the office he holds, is usually flown and operated by Kenya Air Force pilots and servicemen, Honorable Speaker, so that we can assure the Deputy President's safety, assure the country of the Deputy President's safety. Honorable Speaker, when the Kenya Kwanza government took over, I am also informed, Honorable Speaker, our defense forces would occasionally allow senior government officers to use their aircraft at times on request. And ordinarily, government policy is when any senior government officer like the Deputy President or the Prime Cabinet Secretary intends to use a military aircraft, because these aircraft are designated for operational work by the military, to request for use of a particular aircraft, whether it's a helicopter or a Dash 8 or a fixed-wing aircraft, through the office of the head of public service, Felix Kosgei.
Right. It's really a matter of national importance, because we are dealing with the offices of the President and the Deputy President. The presidency. Office of the Presidency is saying, Onjala, the MP for Budalangi. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I watched in the social media the Deputy President carrying a bag in the streets of Jomo Kenyatta. What struck me, Mr. Speaker, in that episode, as somebody who has traveled a lot, is the kind of bag the Deputy President was carrying. That one really struck me. That the kind of bag is not for the Deputy President. That bag is for something else. Another thing that struck me in that episode is what was the content of that bag, because the deputy president could not even give it to his bodyguard. He had to hold it himself in person, Mr. Speaker. What could have contained in that bag, Mr. Speaker? I don't know whether a committee of this parliament can get to know for us. What is the content of that bag that you cannot even trust with Ngunjiri Wambugu was behind him, that he held for me this bag, Mr. Speaker? I don't know whether... Mr. Speaker, those are the two things that struck me in yesterday's episode politically. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, why are we discussing this matter here? The only place that can hold the presidency accountable is Parliament, Mr. Speaker. They are held accountable here, constitutionally. You know, Mr. Speaker, you can hold somebody accountable in the sense that if it is your responsibility to dismiss him from the job he has, then you are the only one who can hold him accountable. It is a clear provision in the Constitution that this is the house that can remove anybody who occupies those offices, Mr. Speaker, and you are a senior lawyer. Mr. Speaker, if what I am seeing, or this trend I am seeing continues, you know very well, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution says a state officer must bring honor, dignity, and respect to the office he's holding. Mr. Speaker, you cannot demean the office you are holding and you expect to attract dignity and respect. Mr. Speaker, let's call a spade a spade. If you want to politic, that is fine. If you want to go and talk in a church, in a public burial place, that is fine. But not to the extent of demeaning the office of the deputy president. Even the office of member of parliament cannot be demeaned, Mr. Speaker. When some of our colleagues misbehave, we take offense. When some of our colleagues here go to burials and behave in a manner that is unbecoming, a manner that a member of parliament should not behave, we take offense. We say, no, we talk to them, don't behave that way. As a whip, I guide them in my office. You can't behave like this. I don't know whether the executive has a whip. The whip of the executive now must come in. I don't know whether it is the majority leader who is the whip of the executive. But a majority leader, if somebody is not interested in any job, there are Kenyans who are interested in that job. Why don't you do something? We are here to execute it. There are many Kenyans who can perform. Men and women. And many Kenyans, men and women of high standard and caliber, including, no, I don't qualify because I'm not from Kenya Kwanza. But anybody else is qualified. Mr. Speaker, you know, Mr. Speaker, the deputy presidency is a very, very critical office. In our neighboring country, the president today who's running that country was a deputy president. She was a deputy president of President Magufuli. And today she's a president of the Republic of Tanzania. So that tells you how important that office. That is not the kind of office that can be occupied by somebody who's pulling a trolley in the corridors of Jomo Kenyatta Airport. It's not possible. So, Mr. Speaker, why we are talking as a parliament, because it is here that we discuss matters of concern to the people. And surely, Deputy President pulling a trolley is of matters of concern to the public. The discussion here is, why did he use the Kenya Airways, public transport? That is neither here nor there. The issue is pulling a trolley. The issue here is, are we as a country having the presidency, giving the presidency the kind of respect that it deserves, Mr. Speaker? And I'm not absolving blame from anybody. Anybody who has not done his work, he can be held accountable. But Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by saying this. Mr. Speaker, people take these offices casually. And somebody thinks that if I become a deputy president, I cannot be held accountable by anybody. A member of parliament will hold you accountable. And the Constitution has given him that provision to hold you accountable. Any member of parliament, by the way, it doesn't matter whether you're Kenya Kwanza or Azimio, any member of parliament can hold you accountable for actions and anything that you speak. I don't want to digress because the speaker has told, let's concentrate on the context. But some of the utterances even are wanting. So, Mr. Speaker, personally as a member of parliament, and you know, some of us, we might not have become deputy presidents, or we may not occupy high offices, but now we are senior members of the country, because some of those people, we have served more terms of parliament than them. They know that. I have been in this parliament more than those people. They know themselves. I don't want to mention names. I am now serving the third term, and people came here one term and sijui jua ilitoka wapi kabulika hawa, sasa hawa ni namna hiyo tu, na sisi bado tumebaki tu kama kuku hapa ndani ya tao. So Mr. Speaker, I want to say this, that let us respect the offices we are holding. If you have grievances, deal with your grievances in a manner that befits the office you are holding, and don't bring shame to the country. Don't bring shame to our country. And when you want to divide the country and you want to separate people, nobody will accept that. Nobody will allow that. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to say, please, for those people who are very close friends of our friend, please buy him another bag. That bag cannot go on. If next trip, I want to see a better bag. KJ, please. Thank you very much.
Majority Leader.
I have heard names being made here. And Mr. Speaker, you are the biggest advocate of protection, that persons must not be named here adversely without a substantive motion. That side has a majority, supermajority, so they say. There is nothing that stops them from dragging that GACHAGUA here so that they can impeach him. They can impeach him so easily by bringing him here and vote against him. So why should we divert from business of this house and enter into some charade and hypocrisy and politics instead of doing business which is before us? We know what you people are saying. We know the politics you are doing. But we also have our politics. We don't want to turn this place into a political arena. We know that this matter has been choreographed. Who doesn't know that?
Na mimi nataka nielezee wabunge wenzangu, mambo yanayotendeka si mambo ya kucheka. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi tunajua majukumu ya naibu wa rais. Na hata kama leo pengine Mheshimiwa Spika wewe pia ungefanywa hivyo, tungesimama hapa kuweza kukutetea, kwa sababu kuna bajeti ambayo imewekwa na tumemuona mara kadhaa akilalamika kuwa ndege imemwacha, ameambiwa sijui kuna hivi na vile. Kwa hiyo kuna shida katika taifa letu, na mimi naomba ikiwezekana Mheshimiwa Rais na Mheshimiwa Naibu wa Rais waweze kukaa chini, haya matatizo yaishe, kwa sababu Kenya ni yetu sisi sote. Na hata alivyoongea yule gavana wa kule Nyeri, amezungumza makosa, kwa sababu ugavi wa rasilimali unafaa uende sawa katika taifa nzima, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na kama alikuwa anataka kutetea pengine naibu wa rais, asingetumia matamshi yale, kwa sababu yanazidi kuleta sintofahamu. Kama ile mashini ya miwa kule, ilikuwa ni haki wao kupewa fidia kuweza kuregesha ule mtambo wa miwa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini kwa yote ile pia sisi kumuona katika ndege ambao ni abiria wa kawaida bila hata security, Mheshimiwa Spika, ilikuwa inatatiza ile image ya taifa la Kenya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo mimi naomba, na nimeona hata wabunge katika mikutano wakizungumza, wakirusha cheche za maneno. Wakati huu Wakenya wana matatizo, bidhaa zinapanda juu. Inafaa wakati huu tuwe tunaongea juu ya finance bill, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini tetesi ambazo zinakuja katika taifa hili wakati huu ni vipi Deputy President anatembea, naibu wa rais ametembea na begi, sijui imekuwa vipi. Kama kuna matatizo, mimi naomba hasa wale ambao wako upande wa mrengo ule, sisi tulizoea matatizo yetu, manake tulipigwa mkatucheka na sasa kimewaramba. Lakini yote tisa, muweze kukaa chini, muweze kutatua matatizo yenu. Hata mkimshika leo spika wa bunge hili, kwa vile yuko mrengo ule, nione mtu anamletea na ile haki zake za kimsingi anapokonywa, kama Mama Zamza, mtasimama nitazungumza, kwa sababu akipatikana wewe leo, kesho mwingine atafanziwa hivyo. Tumeona hata kule kwa rais aliyostaafu kumetokea pia tetesi.